Hello, in this video we're going to take a look at how to manage permissions inside a SharePoint site, list, library, or also folders and documents. So what we're going to do first of all is just go into the Discover Permissions report, which is a report that we've already been looking at in a couple of the previous videos, and we're going to use this as the entry point to making some permission changes as personnel changes may occur inside our department or project that we're managing. So what you'll see in here is, of course, we've got a whole bunch of users with different types of permissions, and they were assigned to those in different ways, as you've already established. So what I'm going to do is just pick on a particular user. So we're going to sort ascending, and what we'll see as we scroll down here is I've set up a few permissions to make things a little bit more obvious in the demonstration here. So you'll see demo user 6 has read permissions, which is granted through the everyone group, as is all of the users, of course, inside this tenant. But also I've specifically or directly given permissions to demo user 6 of full control, design, and edit. So we're going to be taking a look at how to make changes to these permissions if we need to. So first of all, from within inside the Discover Permissions report, what we can do is just go through and select that row, and as we go up to the Actions menu, under Account Management is where you're going to see some of the different changes that we can make, and we'll talk through each of these as we go through. So first of all, I'm going to have a look at the copy permissions. We would use the copy permissions if somebody is going to be joining this team or joining this project, whatever it might be, and requires the same permissions as another user. So what we're going to do here is add in demo user 7. So I'll select demo user 7. So what I'm going to do is copy the permissions from demo user 6 to demo user 7, and note that I could add more users if I want to. We can select some optional choices, such as processing subsites, processing lists, folders, and items. That is going to affect any of those child objects that have unique permissions that demo user 6 already has permissions to. We can also support rollback, as we've discussed already, and we can also modify the groups. So we can modify the SharePoint groups, we can also modify Microsoft 365 groups. Quite a common question that comes up is, do we modify Active Directory security groups? Well, Microsoft 365 group is technically a Active Directory security group, but we only affect those that are Microsoft 365 security groups, Microsoft 365 groups, and not just a native AD security group. And that's a deliberate preference so that we're not actually changing group memberships on groups that may be used for other things outside of SharePoint and Teams. All right, so we're going to hit run, and what you'll see is it process a bunch of sites and lists and items and so on. And these are the permissions that have copied from demo user 6 to demo user 7. So that's completed. We can close this tab down, and what I'm going to do is refresh this report. But before I do, let's just make sure that you can see demo user 6. So here it is, and demo user 7 immediately beneath it has read permissions, again through the everyone group. So what I'm going to do is just refresh this view, and let's scroll down again, and now we can see that demo user 7 has the same permissions of full control, design, and edit, which was what demo user 6 had. Okay, so that's fantastic. Now what we can do is go back and reverse that job. So should this have been maybe a temporary thing, it may have been that demo user 6 was going on vacation for a couple of weeks, and demo user 7 needed to also do the same role in order to be able to cover for demo user 6. And now they're back, so what we can do is just basically select that and reverse it. Or if we made some changes and things didn't go as planned, we could roll it back for that reason. So we can go through and select that job, hit roll back, and that job will now be reversed. So as you can see, it's processed through those jobs, and if we go back to the view again, where you can see demo user 6 and demo user 7 as having full control, design, and edit. Let's just refresh, scroll back down, and you can see those permissions have been removed from demo user 7 again. Okay, so that's the copy permissions, and what we're going to do now is a transfer permissions, and we're going to select the same account. We'll go this time to the transfer permissions, and the purpose of the transfer permissions is to take the permissions away from the source account, demo user 6, and give them demo user 7, which is the target account. And I'm going to choose the same options and we'll run that. And we'll let that process through. So you can see again, it's processing a bunch of lists and libraries, etc. And it's transferred some permissions. So let's now go back and refresh this view. So I'll just scroll down so you can see before I refresh. There's demo user 6 again. And let's hit refresh. And as we scroll down, you will notice that demo user 6 only has read now through the everyone group. Demo user 7 has the full control design and edit. Okay, so once more, we could go back to the jobs view, we could select that job, and we could roll it back. And once it's rolled back, which it has now done, we can go through and refresh this view. And once again, demo user 6 has their permissions back and demo user 7 doesn't. Okay, so that's how we can transfer, we can copy permissions, and I'm going to show you a few other jobs as well, or other actions with that account again selected. We're going to come down to account management. Now, before I show you the delete or the grant, I'm actually going to jump down to revoke. And revoke, the way that differs from the delete permissions is the fact that I can take away certain permissions from a user. It's not like I'm deleting their permissions because they've left the organization. Deleting permissions because they've got too many permissions or they've got higher level permissions than they need. So what we can do here is hit the drop down and let's leave this looking like design and edit. And again, we can process the subsites, we can support the rollback, and let's run. Okay, so that's making the changes once more, and we'll go back to our discover permissions and let's refresh. And as you can see now, the demo user 6 only has full control because we took away that design and edit. Okay, so again, we could reverse that job. So let's go back to jobs. Let's choose the job in question, roll it back. Let's refresh. And there we go, those permissions are back once more. And what we'll do this time is just close those two tabs down. And this time, with that account still selected, we will delete permissions. So as we go through and choose this and hit run, it's going to delete all the permissions. It's going to take the user out of any SharePoint groups, out of any Microsoft 365 groups. It's going to take away any direct permissions. And when we come back here and refresh, what you will notice is that demo user 6 still has read, but that's the only permission that that user has. The reason why they have read still is because they are inside that everyone group, and you can't really take somebody out of an everyone group, and we can't also take people out of an Active Directory security group. So that begs another question. How do I know what Active Directory security groups this user might be in? Well, there is another report for that. It's called the Unique Permission Report. We can run that Unique Permission Report, and it gives us a good idea as to what permissions have been granted to this user, demo user 6 in question, and what groups the user may be a member of. So as you can see, they're only actually a member of that everyone group, and that is it. Okay, otherwise that would have returned a lot more. So if there was other AD security groups in there being returned, we could have gone through and requested that they be removed from those groups using the contacts we have with the administrators of the Active Directory. So that's the delete. Let's go through and, in fact, rather than rolling that back, let's just go through and grant permissions. So this time we'll come down here to the account management, which is grant permissions. We'll type in demo user 6, select that account, and what we can do is either choose direct permissions that we want to give, or we can make the user a member of a group. Now, I would prefer to make them a member of a group, in which case we could just type in the group name. So as we start typing, notice that we get the groups, we can choose them and they'll become a member of it, or we can assign the direct permissions. And I'm just going to do that so it's a little bit more obvious. So we'll choose a bunch of permissions in here and run it. And that will go through and make those changes for me. Okay, so once we have completed that and we refresh again, we should once more see those permissions being granted to demo user 6. Okay, so these are the types of changes that we can make as personnel changes inside the site that you are the owner for. And I hope you found that useful. If there's any questions, please reach out to us on help@lightningtools.com. Many thanks.